what good ever comes from digging about in the past. They don't get it. They're not connected to it and they're not involved in it. Things just aren't making sense. For some of these clients, they will literally get stuck, frozen in time. When we numb out from everything, not just the painful, but also the good. It's almost as though the present moment starts to fade and the trauma starts to kind of take over. And we can be playing things out but not understand where it's coming from. Hello everybody, I'm Catriona Morten. I'm a sensory-motor psychotherapist. Today what I'd like to talk about is what it's like for people, some of my clients, quite a few of my clients over the years, who have felt like they're stuck, trapped in a trauma dissociation bubble. But before I jump into that, if you're enjoying these videos, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, because it really, really helps us get our message out there to loads more people. For some of my clients, they report feeling as though they are not really taking part in life, that they're going through the motions, they're there, they know they're there, but they don't really feel like they're taking part. They feel very disconnected to things going on, people, relationships. It's almost as though things just don't really make sense, or there's that feeling of derealization, and for some, depersonalization, not really recognizing themselves in the mirror, not feeling connected to themselves and not feeling connected to what's going on around them, that they're just kind of floating through. They're not exactly invisible, but they're not fully present either. Now, when we have really overwhelming events, and for these clients, it can be things like a really terrible bereavement, something prolonged and overwhelming that happened to them, that went on, that they couldn't get out of, they couldn't get away from. And for some of these clients, they will literally get stuck, frozen in time. And unfortunately, the time is in this really difficult phase of their life. It's like a freeze and a dissociation that if we haven't got the right support around us, it's very difficult to come out of it. Or if people around us don't realise that that's what's happened, they will just seem a bit quiet, a bit flat, a bit down. Behaviours change, routines change. And, you know, a lot of the time, my clients will report that they were given time and, you know, encouraged to go and do different things, but they just didn't really get out of this and they didn't really know how to function afterwards. And the problem for a lot of people is they don't actually remember what it was like before this thing happened that was so life-altering. They might be told, oh, you know, you used to be much louder and much more chatty and much more involved in things. And now everything has just changed. And it can be quite hard to actually put your finger on what it is, looking from the outside in. And for these people, it can be very difficult to explain what they're actually experiencing. When we don't really understand the level of dissociation and that freeze in our system, then it can be so easily missed and it can be so misdiagnosed. You know, for a lot of people, it's so infuriating trying to put words to this weird stuff and not being able to explain it properly, and people not getting it or just missing huge chunks of things because they're very, very disconnected. But because we're so adaptive, we will find ways of coping. And it's a little bit like autism. So what these people have to do, because they don't get it, they're not connected to it and they're not involved in it, things just aren't making sense. And so they'll kind of watch how people are operating and then try and join in and try and follow the rules. But of course, the rules, when we're just kind of energetically and consciously connected to each other, they're not really said or given rules. We just kind of follow the flow of things. You know, somebody will make a joke and everybody laughs because they get it. For a lot of these people, they don't get it. And it's very much like just going through the motions, and they will report feeling very little kind of emotion with things, apart from when things kind of explode or they're very extreme. It's like only these ones really come through or get through. And this can be a very flat, colourless, pleasureless way of being. We can function, but we're just kind of, trying to figure it out and trying to find ways. And the longer it goes on, the more we get used to it. And the less we kind of realise that this isn't quite right. It's like having a veil or a void in between us and reality. And it makes forming friendships and close relationships really difficult. Now, these coping mechanisms, they can be fine, they can be good enough, and people can get through. But the people that have come to me have had a series of things happen to them, or one thing that's just too much, that all these coping mechanisms suddenly start failing. And when that happens, when our ability to function and put one foot in front of the other and do our job and be in relationships, when that becomes too difficult, it's almost as though the present moment starts to fade and the trauma starts to kind of take over. And we can be playing things out but not understand where it's coming from. Because for a lot of traumatic memory, it just gets frozen. And for a lot of my clients, they don't have an awful lot of access to memory, to the chain of events that led up to things. The memory would be very fragmented and scattered. And if they're asking others, can you fill in the blanks? Can you help me work it out? You might get a whole range of memories and explanations for how things were that don't really match, because our memory, when it's not trauma memory, it kind of jumbles a bit over time. It can be hard to put sequences of events into order and to make sense of why I'm so overwhelmed, why this was such a catastrophic thing for me, and why my nervous system and brain almost got frozen in time. Now, there's obviously two ways of working with this. One is EMDR, that's very, very effective, so long as people can stay regulated and stay in the present moment and not dissociate. And the other way is through the body, because the body holds memories. EMDR was very good at bringing back memory and being able to see things and putting some pieces together, and it can help all the fragmentation of memory come together. And when we do it, we process it through the body. For others, the only way through is the body. The body is holding the memory, and the body needs to process. And we need to be able to feel and have some connection with ourselves to kind of wake up the present moment connection if we're going to be able to connect to what's around us. And it's like a relearning process. Our senses are really good for this because it's a very present moment experience. It matches how it's supposed to be. There's an orange, I can see it's an orange, it feels like an orange, it looks like an orange, it's round. It smells like an orange, it tastes like an orange. Of putting these real sensory experiences together and having it in a very conscious way. I'm consciously doing this. And I wouldn't say it's a long process, but it's a process that has to be very methodical, going down a certain route, getting your resources and using them regularly. When we can understand that this is what's happened to us, and it will come and go. My clients can be more present at some times, but if there's too many disruptive things going on, then they can fade back, and you can almost see it in their eyes. It's like, how do things look? I often say they look a bit blurry or a bit dull, the colour's gone down, things aren't as sharp. It's like, okay, well, you're slightly dissociating there and just disappearing a little bit. And so when we can learn, well, what else happens in the body to accommodate that? What happens to your breath? What do you feel in your stomach? Have you got a sense of your arms and legs? When we can bring these things back online, find the resources that helps that kind of wake up. You know, if we vigorously rub our arms and legs, can you feel the tingling? Okay, well, that's a present moment experience. That's your body now communicating to you, being able to take a step forward. What helps your breath expand? So for some people, it's applying pressure onto the chest so that your body actually feels that contact and that pressure. And when you let it go, it can have a sense of having some space to breathe. So it's really important to find the resources that work for you, for your body, because it will be very specific and very particular. When you find a resource that works, that helps you breathe, that helps you come back a little bit, write it down, make a note of it, because when you're offline, you might not remember and you won't be able to think. Just have it there, whether you write it down or you have it in your phone, however you do it, make a note of them so that they're there on hand. It's like, dissociating. I know what to do. Something I hear a lot and that I'm asked a lot is what good ever comes from digging about in the past? What good comes of raking up old wounds and things, you know, that are lying dormant, that are in there? I would agree with that. However, if what's happening to us right now belongs back then, it can give us a much better understanding of what's actually happening to our brain and our body. So it's not raking things up and digging things up. It's how does this, whatever's happening to you right now, make sense? Why would that have been useful back then? Why would it have been necessary to numb out, to disappear, to freeze? Whatever it is, a way of withdrawing. How would that have been helpful to get us through? And, you know, when we can start to build a bridge between the past, the traumatic past, and the present, and the bridge is, well, how these two things connect, how that one is now affecting me here, right now, today. Because it can really help people have a sense of compassion and some validation of why this is happening right now. Because for a lot of them, they feel like they have no clue what's going on. And that sense of things not feeling real, it can be really disconcerting. Well, it's good to know it's because of what happened back then, because it was too frightening. It was terrifying. It felt like it was never going to end. It was too overwhelming. When we're young, we don't have the capacity that we have when we're older. And how can we be expected to understand that's what happens to us? And that's a therapist's job, to help our clients to understand. When we can understand these things, then it's much easier to know where we need to be going. So if we withdraw and shut down and start to freeze, well, then maybe we need movement, maybe we need sensation, maybe we need to be able to work our muscles inside, have some sense of control. I can control my muscles, I can squeeze them, I can release them. This is me doing this right now. Finding the things that work to get you on that path out of this frozen state, because it really does kind of rob people of an awful lot of their life, of relationships and good experiences, because when we numb out from everything, not just the painful, but also the good. And so, you know, helping ourselves emerge more into the world and reassuring ourselves that actually it's safe now, it's different now, it's okay to be here. It can make a massive difference, and helping people understand, no, this is actually what's happening to you. And there was a very good reason for that, and it makes perfect sense. It can really help them on their road to recovery. So I hope that's been helpful, useful. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.